Hey everyone, the sharks are coming back to our Jacksonville beaches, and that's a good thing. You're thinking, what? Sharks are not? Well, coming from a guy that spends all their time in the water, you would think this is not good news. But I realized, based on some of the research from our local marine biologists, like at Jacksonville University and UNF, and their partnership with OSearch, that is a really good thing. Because when sharks are in the ocean, that means that the ecosystem is pretty healthy. I wrote an article on News4JAX about the migration of sharks that come to our area here in the fall, and then they overwinter in our coastal waters between the Gulf Stream and the beaches. They tend to stay in this area, and we know that from the satellite tags that are attached to the dorsal fin of these sharks. In fact, take a look here. You can see these little blue dots on that map. Those are the locations of all the sharks that have been tagged, and some of these, like Bob, have just pinged off of the Carolina coastline. So by December, the sharks are all basically south of North Carolina, and they tend to focus in our coastal waters and even back down in towards the Gulf of Mexico. And here you can see this article that I wrote shows the carriage that these sharks are caught and pulled into, where they can actually do some of the tagging on these sharks. But it's more than just shark tagging. I talked with the shark founder of OSearch, and he told me that it's more than just looking at where the sharks are now. The science is really collecting biological tissue samples, and they're focused on the sperm cell counts, because that will tell sharks whether or not they're here to mate. And they want to do ultrasounds on sharks to see if females are pregnant. And it turns out that many of the pregnant females come to our area here to gestate, and then sometimes they'll move way out into the middle of the Atlantic. There was a shark called Lydia that was caught right off of Hanna Park in less than 20 feet of water, and Chris Fisher was saying that shark was in such shallow water that they actually had to pull it out to deeper water in order to do the research on the sharks. But the bottom line was, once they put the tag on it, it went 3,000 miles away from the jetty, South Jetty of Mayport, and wound up at just 1,000 miles away from Ireland. But it was a female that likely wanted to get away from some of the males and moved out into the offshore waters. And you can see that Jacksonville University, they did some really interesting research. They came up with this diagram here that shows the range of these sharks, and you can see that right here off of our coastal waters there is a hot spot of activity during the winter months. So the one bit of good news is that usually when the sharks are up off of Long Island and Massachusetts during the summer, they are feeding on a lot of the seals, and then when they come down here in the winter, they are full. So hopefully they're not looking to snack on me. But usually they're born somewhere around that New Jersey and Montauk area, and the juveniles, when I say juveniles, these are sharks that are still about 10 feet long. They'll feed in on a lot of the fish and the squid, and as they get bigger and bigger, then they tend to feed on the seals. But the fact that they eat all that squid, that's a good thing, because that means more food on your dinner plate, because they are an apex predator and they tend to regulate a lot of the food chain. Meaning that if we didn't have the sharks, we'd have too much squid, and the squid would eat all the small little fry, the very small fish that grow up into bigger fish that the commercial recreational fishermen tend to catch and put on your dinner plate. So that is why I think it's kind of a good idea that we have sharks in the ocean. I just hope they stay away from me when I go surfing. All right, so if you're looking for more weather and news information, you can go to news4jax.com and also watch our weather team coverage here on Channel 4, the local station.